Ramalgo Ceann Comhairle, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to address this vitally important bill, and in his absence I would also like to congratulate Deputy Brown on his new appointment as Junior Minister at the Department of Justice. Ceann Comhairle, there is no doubt that the restrictions of the past few months have required great sacrifice, but ultimately have resulted in the saving of thousands of lives. Today's bill provides An Garda Síochána with additional enforcement powers to ensure that bars and restaurants adhere to the guidelines. It's a necessary tool to have in our arsenal to support these restrictions. It will allow the Gardaí to bring establishments which are flouting the rules into compliance with our regulations to keep all of us safe. The Gardaí have been outstanding in their response to this pandemic. Every day we stayed at home to protect ourselves and our family. They were risking their health and safety in order to protect ours. They have been putting themselves at risk every day that we stayed at home in order to keep us safe. We cannot lose sight of this sacrifice that so many people made for our safety. In light of these sacrifices, Gardaí must be equipped with the ability to deal with the situation they are faced with, and these regulations give them these tools. Here in Ireland, we are proud of our tradition of policing by consent, and today's regulations are wholly in line with this. Gardaí will engage, educate and encourage business owners to come into compliance with the rules, and only as a last resort will these emergency regulations ever be used. Pubs who are given closure orders will be able to appeal the decision if they believe they have not flouted the rules. I do not imagine that these rules will be used frequently, if ever. I am certain that the vast majority of business owners are responsible and will not allow their businesses to break the regulations, and if the situation arises where there is a break from the rules, that they will cooperate with the Gardaí and so closures will not be required. Where this is not the case, these rules will come into force. These powers are not being introduced to stop anyone from enjoying themselves or making sure they have the ability to meet up with friends and family, a privilege denied to so many in recent weeks. The main purpose of these rules is to allow socialising and evenings out, but to do so in a way which is safe and can allow businesses continue to recover and exit what has been an extremely difficult period. Additionally, we must also be aware of our surroundings. If we find ourselves in a situation where we do not feel that there is adequate safety measures in place, we should leave and go somewhere else. I'm sure over the last few weeks we have all had that opportunity where perhaps we think maybe they're letting us stay a little longer. Why has that waitress taken off her face mask? Why is someone perhaps not adhering to the rules as we know it? But ultimately the responsibility does lie on us as a patron first and foremost. If in doubt, head out. We must keep all these at the fore of the discussions as well. We would all like to see the reopening of every pub. Publicans have suffered greatly from these restrictions, and we do not want to see the closures go on for longer than is absolutely necessary. Publicans not just in rural Ireland, but across this country, including in my home constituency of Dublin Rathdown. I would hope that these rules will encourage all publicans to adhere strictly to the regulations, which would support the reopening of all pubs when it is safe to do so. Public health must be paramount, Ceann Comhairle. Today's regulations are a reasonable and proportional response to the situation at hand. They not only will keep customers safe, but also staff who deserve a safe working environment. Importantly, these regulations are temporary. They are due to expire on the 9th of November unless we, the Oireachtas, the elected representatives, agree to extend this. The more businesses that adhere to these restrictions, the less likely they will need to be extended. There is a chance for all of us to keep playing our part in the fight against COVID-19. As our economy reopens, it is easy to forget the threat this virus poses to our society. However, the virus is no weaker today than it was in March. COVID-19 can do just as much damage to our health, our businesses, our economy and our society now as it could then. We must be vigilant in our fight against COVID-19, and supporting these enforcement powers is one way to do so. Ireland has done great work in suppressing this virus. Currently, we're seeing, however, a rise in cases, as are many other European countries. However, we do not want to undo all of our hard work and sacrifices from the spring. We do not want to find ourselves in a position where we have to take steps backwards in our reopening. We all must look to previous examples, be it in Germany, South Korea, Hong Kong, where reopenings happened and spikes happened in crowded areas like nightclubs, like bars, like restaurants, and the environments around them. We have to make sure the enforcement power is in place to make sure these spikes can't come into place. But we also have to make sure that we as a country learn from the examples set by other countries. The fact is, the stronger our adherence to these restrictions now, the less likely a backwards move is. We must play our part in ensuring that schools and colleges stay open, that businesses stay open, and that they are allowed to reopen in due course. It goes without saying, Ceann Comhairle, that we would all love for our lives to return to normal, for all businesses to open and for schools to stay open. However, we cannot ignore the circumstances we are in. Quite simply, we have to adjust. Just because we're sick of this virus, just because we're tired of the restrictions and the pandemic, does not mean that the virus itself is tired. We need to be as alert now as we have been over recent months. By supporting and adhering to the guidelines, we can allow some sense of normality to return to our lives. We can go for that dinner, go for that drink, with food for the moment, go shopping and travel the country, and maybe sooner rather than later we will be able to travel to other countries. But let's get our own country in order first. Let us not forget the sacrifices that were made to allow us to get to this point, and we must do everything that we can to maintain the progress we have made. These are extremely difficult powers that I have no doubt that the Minister does not necessarily bring any joy in bringing to the House. And I know, speaking to many members of An Garda Síochána who I speak with on a daily basis, both in my own community and wider across the country, they never want to have to use these powers, but they need them for the temporary measure to allow us to smoothly work through. And I go back to a central point that I made in my earlier part remarks. The responsibility lies first and foremost, not necessarily with the business owners, not necessarily with the politicians, but with every single individual in the state. We cannot slip back. We cannot slip back into normal, take things for granted. I'm a politician. I haven't shaken a hand in over 6 months. It's not necessarily a natural thing for any of us, but it's vital, and it's vitally important that we take leadership and take ownership, because it's that duty of care and that self-responsibility that will continue to allow us to progress steadily out of these situations. Gurmara Ceann Comhairle.